You're not at home anymore. Your parents aren't giving you money to go get ice cream. You have to figure it out yourself for the first time. Awesome. So we're calling this segment Campus Underground. And that's because that is the name of the podcast that I had the privilege to host, as well as this one. So in that pod, I get to do a deep dive on college life and offer advice to students. So that's actually what we're going to do again today. And to help me out is my good friend and co-host of Campus Underground, Mr. Colby Martel. Hey, Colby.
Hello, Dom. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great.
Long time no see.
So I'll just share. Huh? A
Long time no see.
Sure. I'll start by sharing a little bit about myself. My name is Colby Martel. I'm a junior at Babson College, which is around the Boston area. And I'm very involved on campus. I'm the president of the activities board here. And then I'm also pretty involved off campus as well. I haven't been to as many colleges yet as Dom has, but I've been to about interviewing students to showcase their experiences and do some other fun stuff like some dorm tours and just try to get out of my comfort zone. Because my first year was pretty much just always in my dorm, just watching YouTube. So I thought it'd be fun to go out and make my own videos and interact with other students that way. So I have a YouTube channel now as well.
And you're killing it. You're making lots of amazing content. So kudos to you for that. So I want to say really fast, before we dive into the segment, I want to mention that at the end of this segment, we're going to do Ask Me Anything coming up. So if you guys have any questions, please put in the chat. We're going to do a whole little section where we're going to address questions in the chat. And that could be about the scholarships or what we're going to talk about now.
Awesome. Sounds good. I actually forgot to mention one more thing about myself. I was also one of the hosts on the Campus Underground podcast last season, and I'm very excited for season 2. But I just had an idea, Dom, if you're interested, if we could do a mini pod right now and talk about some college stuff.
Yeah, let's do it. I would love to. I love podcasts.
Let's do
awesome.
it.
So go ahead.
Yeah, last time we talked about a lot of stuff. We have 3 episodes out. We talked about managing money. We talked about how to make friends, how to balance social life and school. And then also we dived into a lot of the advice that we got and advice that we could give, as well as some bad advice that we did realize wasn't really the case. So I think today we could pick 3 of those topics maybe and do a little bit of a brief overview of those.
Yeah. Since we just talked about money, how about we do costs outside of tuition? We just talk about that.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay. Let's do it.
Yeah. Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
Yeah, sure. I'll start. So obviously tuition, even though it's tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars, luckily if you listen to the last segment, maybe you can get some scholarships toward that. But there's also a ton of other things that you'll have to pay for as a student, whether it's room and board, whether it's food, whether it's just any other things you want to do with your friends, maybe during spring break or textbooks. And throughout our time in college, we realized some ways to save money and also make money to contribute to those things. So maybe we could start with the textbooks first. Definitely look into renting your textbooks and not just buying them right away, because you'll get a syllabus probably in the summer and you'll see that you'll have to pay tuition and room and board and food, and then also probably hundreds of dollars more for books. And you're like, why do I have to do that? I'm already paying so much. But most of the times you don't have to pay as much as you think, because there's ways to rent it or borrow from friends, maybe if you're an upperclassman, or you could also just buy used books. Or sometimes, I've noticed, sometimes you don't even need to buy the textbooks. You can either find PDFs online, or even more commonly, they'll just be offered by the professor, or the professor will tell you that you don't actually need the book in the class. If you just wait till the first day of class to go over the syllabus, you probably don't need to prepare for that class because it's just an overview of the class, and they'll tell you whether or not you need to buy the books. So probably just wait for that, and it saved me a lot of money, because I know my first year I bought a lot of books and never opened them. So that's my first tip.
I totally agree. I wasted a lot of money on books, like so much money that I wish I could get back. But I think to piggyback on what you said, a great tip that I got when I first got to campus was it's scary, but really important to make upperclassmen friends. And I know it can be intimidating going up to them and you just want to stay within your freshman bubble. But the more upperclassmen you meet, the more advice they can give you and the more textbooks you could potentially borrow. So I feel like that's another way that you can save money is by talking to upperclassmen and realizing that they're like you. They're just young adults trying to find their way. So that's definitely a great point with textbooks. But I think another thing is making a budget for yourself. You're not at home anymore. Your parents aren't giving you money to go get ice cream. You have to figure it out yourself for the first time. So being organized, writing down what you're spending money on, and realizing that this is the first time that you're probably going to be on a campus with people who aren't from your hometown. People are coming from different states, from different cities, from different countries. So they're going to have different customs and ways of life and different socioeconomics. So you might think that you can keep up with the Joneses and you think that your friends are spending $100 on a party and you might not have $100 to spend. So keep your head straight on the game. Remember who you are. Remember what your finances look like and try not to compare yourself to others.
Totally agree. And then also on the other side of that, you can also look for a ton of on-campus opportunities to make some money and cover those expenses that you want. I know one thing I make sure to do is not order Uber Eats a lot because it is very expensive for delivery, but and with all the opportunities on campus to get free food, which we can talk about after this. But I think that there are some opportunities where I do want to get off campus and spend time with my friends and have those fun experiences that do cost a little bit of money. So to do that, you might want to look into some on-campus jobs that tend to be very easy. Like there's jobs here that people can just do their homework by having a shift in the library or in the gym for a few hours a week and just get $15 an hour. So all money is good money as a college student. So definitely look into those opportunities because there's a lot of them on campus.
Yeah, definitely. And I think too, with the free food that you mentioned, my campus, we had a group chat for free food. And whenever there was somebody giving away food or a professor or whatnot, an event, they would take a picture and stick it in the chat, and everybody would scurry over and try to get the free food before it's gone. So if your campus doesn't have one of those, you could be that special person that makes it. So I definitely think that's like a cool way to bond with people over being frugal and wanting to save money. But also, I had friends that would make it weeks without paying for food because they were just getting free food left and right. So that's definitely something to explore.
Definitely. There's so many clubs on my campus that will cater food. So even if I have a meal plan and I try to prioritize that because that's what I'm paying for, it's constant meals 3 times a day. So that's what I go to rather than eating out. But sometimes you want something different. So look for those clubs hosting events as well.
Definitely. You want to move on to the next topic?
Yeah, let's
Okay,
do it.
let's do it. Let's talk about preparing for the future and specifically the saying that when one chapter closes, another one opens. Do you think you can kind of give us your rendition, your thoughts on what that quote means to you?
Yeah, definitely. That quote means a lot to me personally because as many high school students are, they get pretty sad when they have to leave. Or maybe some people look forward to leaving their high school and moving on to the new chapter. But either way, the chapter is going to close and it's going to be much different, but also much similar. It's just the same book of your life, but just a new phase of it. So you'll move on from a lot of your relationships, but you may want to also keep some of them. So one of the cool things I noticed in my first year, you quickly realize which friends are going to be lifelong friends and which friends are going to be just high school friends, but you can appreciate them both the same. I look back into just reflecting on my high school friends and I'm still super appreciative of them in my life. I still follow them on Instagram and see what they're up to, maybe occasionally reach out, but just realizing that you're not going to be super close with them, with all of them still. You're going to meet new people and make new
Right.
relationships, but then still hold some of them the same. So just as that chapter does close, make sure you spend a lot of time with the people that you care about because you won't see them as much in college, even though you can keep touch over FaceTime or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I think too, when you're applying to scholarships, when you're applying to colleges, you are so heads down and so focused that you might forget that the chapter's coming to a close soon. So it's really important, especially after you get that acceptance to your dream college, we're going to manifest, that you spend time with your friends and your family, because this is the last time that you will probably be home with your parents and your little siblings. So I think taking them all, not taking them for granted, is really important. And even though you want to run, you have senioritis, you want to be an adult, like really value those last moments at home. But on top of that, I wanted to say too, with preparing for the future, is familiarizing yourself with your campus, that you might be going from a small town to a really big city and not know the city you're about to move to or the country. So getting to know the area, getting to know where's safe, where might not be as safe, where you can get groceries, all that fun stuff will really help you with prepping and staying organized with preparing for that transition into young adulthood and into being by yourself for the first time.
Yeah, I totally agree. And then on top of that, also make sure that you have everything that you need on campus to succeed. Maybe you don't take everything from your house, but making a checklist is very important for me, at least, to make sure that I have everything that I want when I leave. Luckily, I'm lucky enough to live pretty close to campus, so if I did forget something, then I could easily go back home. But there's a lot of people living a 30-hour plane ride away, so you definitely have to make sure that you have that checklist and bring everything that you need.
Definitely. Well, let's move on to our last segment then, which is about mental health.
Awesome.
So, do you have any tips or what you do currently, since you're still in college, for what you do to maintain a healthy mental health?
Yeah, when you get super busy in college, you have a lot of pressure, maybe from parents or yourself or your school, or you're worried about the future and you want to maintain a high GPA, but you also want to get involved with fun stuff and activities on campus. It can get overwhelming if you overcommit. So, my biggest thing is as a first year, you definitely want to try new things. You definitely want to figure out where you're going to fit in. So I would definitely start off by joining every email list, almost anything that slightly interests you, any person that slightly interests you, reach out to them. But definitely don't overcommit at the same time. You don't want to have everyone on your campus be your close friend, because that's not sustainable to have healthy relationships with all those people. Same with clubs. You don't want to join 20 clubs and not be able to give your best effort into each of those. There's some people I know that are on like 4 different executive boards for clubs and just aren't able to commit to them. So it's much better if you're just focused on 1 or 2 that you're really passionate about by the time you get to maybe sophomore or junior year. But as a first year, definitely try to experiment. Just get on the email list and visit a couple of events, a couple of meetings, and then find out what you're interested in. But at that point, realize what you can sustain and what you can do while maintaining a healthy lifestyle. So definitely, number one, do not overcommit, but do try a lot of things.
Yeah, I
Do you have
think in
any
high
other
school,
advice?
yeah, I think to jump on what you said and then to add some additional advice is in high school, you are trying to impress colleges. And I do think in college, you're trying to impress potential employers and jobs. But in high school, your resume sometimes is so vast because you want to just make it look so nice and fluffy when you apply to colleges. But the cool thing is in college, you can start to specialize in things. You can start to do less things and do more things that you're really, really into instead of a ton of little things that you like, kind of like, which is special. So I agree with the don't overcommit and look at it as like the now you have the capacity and the time to be able to focus on what you actually want to do. But I think too, I'm a huge reward system type of girl. So after a long day of studying or a long day of whatever is exhausting me, I will give myself something fun to look forward to at the end of the day. And that really helps my mental health. So whether that's I'm going to sing for an hour, I'm going to go skateboard around the park, I'm going to eat a whole pint of ice cream because my mom and dad aren't here to tell me I can't. Then that's what I'm going to do for my reward after doing something difficult. So I think that too is something to keep your mental health in check. But do you have any last ones you would like to add?
Yeah, sure. So while you don't want to overcommit to anything, there's some things that you should definitely commit to. And one of them is definitely sleep. You definitely need to get an adequate, consistent sleep schedule. It's something I sometimes struggle with. One of my most popular videos on YouTube is asking students if they ever sleep and if they ever study. And it varies a lot person to person. But at least from my experience, the only time I've ever struggled with Exams is when I don't get enough sleep. So you just have to realize that you got to study in advance. You don't want to cram. You need to get that sleep before, and you're going to enter the test remembering everything you learned in class as long as you prepare in advance and not just
Yeah.
stay up all night studying. And that just
I have a
works
really
every day. Like there's so many times that I don't participate in class because I didn't get enough sleep, and I just really regret it because it's so important to participate in class just for your mental health
yeah.
as well.
Yeah, I so agree. And I have a funny story that I'm gonna throw in really fast. Is I pulled an all-nighter for an exam and I was studying, I was cramming like crazy. And I got to the exam. I thought I killed it. I left. I called my dad. I was like, I got 100. And then I got the grade back and I got like a 33, I think it was. And I think it's because I didn't sleep. So you can think that you're doing well without sleeping, and you'll find out you probably aren't. So I totally agree to sleep 8 hours if possible. Yeah, great tip to add in. But I'm going to jump over to the chat to see if anybody left some questions for us. So, one, Colby's for you. Colby, how do you have the time to make your videos and get all your coursework done?
That is a great question. I was very consistent last semester. Unfortunately, I have fell a little bit behind on my YouTube this semester because I've been prioritizing school, and it's important to recognize that I'm only going to be a student for one more year, and I can make videos the rest of my life. But I'm passionate about succeeding in both, so it is difficult to balance. But I think if you care enough about your school and you care enough about YouTube, as long as you don't overcommit on a ton of other activities, it's easy to just plan a calendar and commit time to sometime to studying, sometime to editing videos. And then when you get to a point, you can even have help with your YouTube videos. You can hire an editor, which I'm looking into right now to help me be more sustainable. So that's what I'm doing
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah, I think to add to that is in college you really learn how to prioritize, and how things that you thought was important in the past actually isn't that important, or you don't have the time for it. So you got to unfortunately cut some things out to get what you want to do done. So I definitely agree with what you said with somebody that also filmed videos, that you have to you have to prioritize school and then first, at least in my opinion, and then whatever after that you enjoy in order to be able to do everything. So we are
I
actually
agree.
going to keep moving, Colby. So I want to
Okay.
thank you for all of your insights, for joining me in the first podcast and then this mini one now. Do you have any last things you want to say?
No, this has been great. Thank you so much. And if you have any more questions for me, feel free to leave a comment on my YouTube channel or DM me on Instagram, and I'll try to reach out to you.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thank you
Colby.
so much. Thank you.
I'll see you. Awesome. So again, let's review what we've learned in our Hey Sally recap. So the costs outside of tuition, which was the first topic we talked about, is to create a budget for yourself, spend responsibly, and look for ways to make money. Money does not grow on trees, only in video games. So when you get to college, you really have to be careful and be smart when it comes to money. Next, with preparing for the future, we talked about staying organized, creating checklists, try to do as much prep as you can before you get to campus. Really find out which areas are safe, which areas are not. You don't want to end up in the wrong part of town, but then also creating checklists to make sure you bring what you need to bring to campus and that you are prepared for class. You're prepared for this new chapter of your life. And then the last segment we talked about, which is what we're going to actually talk about next in more detail, is mental health. So trying not to overcommit, sleeping, exercising, taking care of your body, and then finding things that bring you joy and reward you.